Hey everybody, just wanted to make a quick video to talk about different types of hammers and their use for bladesmithing specifically. Before I go into it too much, I want to talk about the kind of trifecta of things that I look for when I'm buying a hammer. And that is the main thing is really the weight. The trifecta of things that you want to pay attention to that I think, and everything in this video is my opinion. Nothing is set in stone. So, I mean, you can disagree or agree with me however you want. That's up to you. But the trifecta of things that I recommend you look for involve comfort and how you use the hammer. So the weight of the hammer is kind of the big thing. And you want to find a hammer that has enough weight that it's going to move the steel and do some of the work for you, but not so heavy that you can't wield it fastly or quickly, and also not so heavy that you can't use it for an extended period of time. Those are the things that kind of balance good hammer use for me. The other thing is handle shape. I don't really have a preference between the more contoured handles where they have a taper and a swell, or a straight handle. What's most important to me is that the handle is not too big for your hands. I have small hands, so I am not shy about reshaping handles when I get them. I've done it a couple times. Not many though. Most of the hammers that I've had feel pretty good from the start. But the reason I say you don't want it to be too big is that you don't want to have to hold on to it. You don't want to force the hammer into the anvil. You want to hold the hammer loose enough that it bounces back off the anvil. And that's important. It's kind of allowing the hammer to do some work for you. So, types of hammers, just real fast. The main hammer I use is a rounding hammer. This one is from Conrad Blacksmithing. This one's from Michael Hoops. These are my two main forging hammers. I like a rounding hammer for most of the processes in making a knife. If I'm making a bushcraft knife, one of these hammers is all I'm going to use. And I'll talk about for like chef knives, and that's more when I get into specific types of hammers when I'm forging a chef knife. These have different faces, and that's okay. This one has a square face. This one has a slightly octagonal face. Either is fine. I don't notice a whole lot of difference for most of what I do. They both have a rounding face, which is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck movement of steel. This one's round, this one's square. But a rounding hammer I like because it blooms the steel out in all directions. And to me, it's how I move the steel the fastest. I use the rounding hammer until the very end. I'll use the rounding side of the hammer. And then I smooth everything out with the flat side. For chef knives, I use it for forging in the tip, forging in the distal taper, forging in the bevels. And there are a few things that I'll use some of the other hammers that I'm going to talk about for specifically. But more or less, I can forge this entire knife with just the rounding hammer. And for me, that's my choice in hammer that I use and how I use it. I can use it for forging in my tang. I can use it for pretty much everything. I can use the flat face, kind of like a cross peen, and then I can use the edges here for focusing on specific spots. And I will do that fairly often, especially like on an integral knife when I'm trying to get the heel to come back. One of the reasons I think I like this hammer the most is because I have these small surface areas that I can really focus a lot of pressure on and use it almost like a ball peen hammer. So the next type of hammer I'm going to talk about is the cross peen. This one is by Lily Hammers, Nissan Lily. It is a really cool little hammer. This one's like a 2.5 pounder, 2 pounder. This one's little. But you want to find one that has a peen that's not super pointy. You want to have some roundness to it. If it's really pointy, it's going to ding up your steel real bad. The main reason I use a cross peen hammer is when I'm working on a chef knife, the steel is going to move perpendicular to the peen of the hammer, right? So when I'm using cross peen, I'll use it to make the heel taller. I'll draw it down. And that's the main reason that I'll use a cross peen. I have another one over here that I'll talk about. I use this one a lot in conjunction with my vise, and I'll use that for forging in this area here. put my knife in the leg vise, and I'll forge specifically in this spot right here to give this contour. This one's already been profile ground, but it's more or less the same, except it's a little cleaner. So to get this contour here, I'll put this in my leg vise and use that. This one has a narrower peen, so it's a little more aggressive. The last classification of hammer that I typically use is the straight peen. This one's by Cliff Dufton, and the diagonal peen. This one's from Hilltop Forge. And I use these types of hammers kind of interchangeably. Once again, the steel moves perpendicular to the peen. So for drawing out a distal taper, these are nice. For really focusing on a specific spot on your tang, they're really nice. The straight peen is kind of new to me. I haven't forged with it a lot yet, and I only have 2 of them, and I don't have as much experience with them. But I'm finding that I like it a lot, and it's really just, to me, the same thing as the diagonal peen. I don't know if you use them differently. If you have both, let me know how you use them. I'm kind of curious. I like both of them, but like I said, I use them for the same thing. The diagonal peen, I find I just tend to have a little bit of a different angle when I'm swinging. It's really, to me, not a huge difference, and I like both of them a lot. So find a hammer that's comfortable for you. Like I said, I recommend using a nice rounding hammer. To me, they're the most versatile on the market. There's lots of great hammer makers out there, so if you can afford to support one of the custom hammer makers out there, you know, there's more that I just mentioned here. Wahlberg Forge has a lot of really nice hammers that you can get into for really reasonable prices. Conrad Blacksmithing is someone's having fun. Conrad Blacksmithing makes some great hammers. All these guys that I talked about, Hilltop, Michael Hoops, there's more, but find a hammer that works well for you, and have fun with it. Thanks for watching, and if there's anything else you'd like to know about, or if you have any more questions, let me know. I'm planning on trying to do a few more of these informational videos in the future, and yeah, thanks for checking it out.